the forensic review notes that on August 23rd, 2016, Sistera sent the city a copy of its PSA with Sandy Shapery and Manchester Finance Group, but this PSA was never disclosed to the City Council. Why not? On October 13th, 2016, before I was elected to council, may I add, an email was sent to the council by the docket coordinator with the ownership information for all items on the city docket of October 17th and 18th, 2016. Ownership information was not listed for the 101 Ash Lease to Own agreement before council on October 17th, 2016. Why wasn't ownership information disclosed as part of those emails, the means of compliance with Charter Section 225 at the time?
It was a matter of public record who the owners were, and there had been media reports the year before as to transactions between the owners to acquire the building.
Okay. Sure. Prior to October 17th, 2016, was a full and complete disclosure of ownership ever made for this deal as required by Charter Section 225?
I can really only repeat the answer I just gave, in that the purchase and sale agreement given to the city months before the transaction did identify who the owners were. Beyond that, I've not seen any documentation that was forwarded to the council or anybody else as to that information.
Okay, so according to NBC San Diego, Mr. Shapley has said, and I quote, "My personal belief is that having Manchester as a partner was a detriment. Manchester is Mayor Faulkner's largest contributor. My feeling is that the city wanted a way around it. After all, how does it look to have the mayor enter into a major land deal with his largest contributor?" End quote. Is this the reason the PSA was not turned over to the council or made public? Is this the reason Manchester's involvement was never disclosed in violation of Charter Section 225?
Well, let me say, first of all, I've personally made no analysis as to whether there was a violation of Charter Section 225. And built into your question, Ms. Moreno, is that there was such a violation. I don't know that. I do know, again, that the information as to the ownership in the building was disclosed in the form of at least the PSA, the purchase and sale agreement, which the city had.
Thank you. I want to take a moment to describe the version of Charter Section 225 that was in force on October 17th, 2016. It reads in relevant and part, and I quote, "No right, title, or interest arising out of a contract or lease may be granted or bargained, unless the persons applying or bargaining therefore make a full and complete disclosure of the name and identity of any and all persons directly and indirectly involved in the application or proposed transaction and the precise nature of all interest of all persons therein," end quote. It goes on to say that failure to fully disclose this information, quote, "may result in forfeit of any and all rights and privileges that have been granted," end quote. The involvement of Sandy Shapery and Manchester Financial Group should have been disclosed according to Section 225. They were clearly involved, but someone wanted their involvement hidden from the council and the public. But that's not all. If you read between the lines of the forensic review, there was simply too many falsehoods told to the council, both before and after the deal was signed, to blame on the incompetence of subordinates and contractors. The attempt to hide true ownership of the building by violating Charter Section 225, the use of Sistera as a straw seller, the lack of basic due diligence by the city, the extraordinary lease provision protecting Sistera from consequences when the asbestos was discovered, the continual falsehood told to the council and the public about the condition of the building, the ongoing attempts to minimize the asbestos problem, and on and on and on. Taken together, this could not have been the result of mere incompetence or bad luck. This was a deliberate fraud. Some may think that the word fraud is strong, but Black's Law Dictionary defines fraud as the knowingly misrepresentation of the truth or concealment of a material fact to induce another to act to his or her detriment. By this definition, this is clearly fraud, and we should not be afraid to say so. We are now left to figure out how to move forward, and I don't think any of the 5 options listed in the staff report are fully appropriate, given that what we are dealing with is fraud. Given that the original action violates Charter Section 225, the lease-to-own agreement is forfeited. We should immediately inform Sistera that the city believes the agreement is no longer in force. We should seize all lease payments to Sistera and instead place them in an escrow account in the event of litigation. We should also cease spending any money on improvements or any analysis of this property. This property that we can't even occupy isn't even worth $18,000 a day we're paying to the lease, let alone another $115 million in total project costs to fix it. We should not continue to burden taxpayers to honor a deal that was conceived in fraud and deception. Nor should the City Council continue to be complicit in an attempt to conceal responsibility and deflect accountability. This is why I am voting no on this motion today. Finally, the commission of fraud should have serious consequences, and we should encourage, and I will encourage the district attorney to criminally investigate all of the actions surrounding 101 Ash Street.